Thank you for having me. Yes, that's a great question to begin with. I think that Musk, first of all, is concerned with dropping revenues of X. And also, we have seen that for Musk, he has been an advocate of any kind of information running wild on social media. In 2023, we heard from the European Union that X, not Twitter anymore, but X had become the biggest platform for misinformation and disinformation. So when it comes to the stabbing, to the videos of this horrendous stabbing, we know that they're still there on the platform, that Musk has publicly resisted that that request to remove the information from the platform. So I don't think that is going to happen. I think that Musk would fight this request in court. And here, the e-safety commissioner here in Australia, Julie Inman-Grant, she has been quite persistent with X and other social media platforms. So first and foremost, she has been a big advocate of first having a collaborative approach with social media companies. And obviously, this approach has not been working out with X, as we see in this case scenario as well. So I can see that these penalties that are now being placed on X, they indicate that that dialogue is really not happening at the government level with X. So I'm foreseeing more conflict between X and Australia, perhaps the Australian courts. We'll see Musk arrive here.
And we know that Elon Musk very rarely pays the bills anyway, so he's unlikely to even pay these fines. He sort of runs by his own rules. Do you think she's right? I mean, how is this a free speech issue? This is a violent video that you'd think most social platforms would agree should not be widely proliferated. What a word, sorry. Spread, should I say.
That's a big word, like misinformation. We've got the best words when it comes to social media. Yes, and most platforms actually do. You know, we've been talking about TikTok. TikTok actually cooperates with the Australian government on misinformation, disinformation monitoring, really horrendous materials online, such as child exploitation materials, different things like that, that the e-safety commissioner is responsible for clearing the social media from that. So now we have the Online Safety Act, and this is the e-safety commissioner is acting on the basis of this act. Look, it's a mess. It's a mess, and you're very much correct in saying that other social media companies have themselves decided to remove these horrendous videos because there was an issue of a minor. At the moment, we understand that this has been labeled as a terrorist attack as well. So we really don't want that information there on the social media. And with the Bondi attacks, actually, X was the place for misinformation on actually the wrong person being accused for the stabbings. So that was really horrendous for that person and their family, of course.
Yeah.
So we're not seeing a lot of engagement from X when it comes to these topics.
Yeah, it's good that you remind us of that terrible situation that carried on for some time. Let's now talk TikTok. What is this ban, if it is this divestment for TikTok, actually going to look like? Do you think it's going to go all the way through Congress?
First of all, good news for Australian young folks. I think a lot of young people were not fans of this ban, very, very worried. So Albanese has so far said that, look, no TikTok on government devices, but we're not considering banning TikTok here in Australia. And what happened last week? So what happened on Saturday was that the House of Representatives in the United States actually passed this bill forward. So it's got a couple more steps to go before the bill travels for the president to the president for him to sign it. Now, these are not big steps, and they're actually expected that they might pass. So what might happen is next week, the Senate in the United States might pass this bill. And what would happen is really not a ban situation, but a divestment situation. So the Senate, the president, the US government would request TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, which is located conveniently in the Cayman Islands. They would request that ByteDance to divest and to have a US-based owner for the platform. Now, TikTok has framed it as a ban. So the TikTok CEO, Shou Zi, has been talking about it. Yes, this is essentially a ban. This is, if this bill passes, it means no more TikTok for Americans. Now, I understand that they're not in a good situation. ByteDance was originally based in China, and there's a version of TikTok called Douyin, which is based in China. It's got huge market share, and this is where the algorithm was developed. So it would be a big business transaction to actually sell part of the algorithm or the whole algorithm to a US-based company. So for TikTok, they would not be keen to do that. We've heard also that the Chinese government would not be keen to support that sale as well.
Yep.
But they would have 1 year to act on this divestment order.
Interesting, and we'll see if Joe Biden keeps using it for his election campaign. So, but then China took a number of apps down, forced a number of apps off the platform. Do you think we're going to start seeing a bit of tit for tat going on with different platforms?
We might see a little bit of tit for tat, but really China has taken so many social media platforms already off these Chinese internet that, I mean, there's not a whole lot of apps left to take down. Yeah, that's right. So what happened was that Meta products such as WhatsApp, Threads, got taken down from the Apple Store, from the Apple App Store. Signal got taken down, and Telegram, which is a Russian headquartered company as well. So it's not all US. It may be a little bit of a tit for tat moment, but we've got to realize that China is actually an authoritarian country that censors content on social media. Having control of the contents on social media has long been a priority for China. I remember the Apple's App Store perhaps was the more liberal space, and there was a slight possibility that if you leave China and perhaps you're in the US for a brief moment, you might be able to install an app, go back to China, and still work. So a lot of my friends, when I lived there, were able to do that. Now, since 2013, we've seen a very rigorous approach taken by China's government to make sure that there's a bit more control of what happens on social media, that the government is able to see it, what happens on WeChat, which is the most popular platform on China's social media, it's translucent to national security and state security agencies in China.
Yeah. Oh, it's quite fascinating to watch it all play out, but you can see that it's not a fair, China does what it wants, so the US is kind of entitled as well. We'll watch it play out. Good to talk, Asma. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.